All set, Yaniv.
Okay. Hey everyone, welcome to the Geo community call for June 8th. So we are approaching the end of our season one. We have a little bit longer and we're starting to gear up for season two. So I want to share, just a few early updates there. Have some uh, open conversation on some new features that we're looking at for the protocol and give you guys a bit of a hint of some things that we're working on for the next week or two as we start to gear things up for our next big wave. Um, so, yes, first thing that we'll open on is so I gave a little teaser last week about reputation. And reputation is a really core part, I think, of what we're doing because we're trying to create a meritocracy. Knowledge is not evenly distributed. Some people do have more than others, right? It takes a lot of work and dedication to build knowledge. And if you have a system where everybody's, vote there is treated equally, you're not going to get the best results. And so somehow we need to have a system that factors that in. It's not something that we've talked a lot about, but would love to just start out with a bit of an open conversation about that. Um, Throw out some ideas that we're looking at and make it something that, would love your guys' input. Um, so there are different approaches to reputation systems. Um, and, in crypto, especially, we want to build an open system, right, that anyone can participate. Crypto is a global movement. Um, and of course, that introduces issues around gaming and symbols and these sorts of things. And then, for us specifically, we want to actually gauge somebody's real ability, and their knowledge in a specific domain. Um, Systems like Wikipedia actually make it so that they do have a reputation system and it's reputed weighted voting. But it's all based on your participation in Wikipedia and your past edits. And so what you end up having is this like class of editors that basically have all of the power. And if you come in from the outside, you could be a total expert in whatever area. You're starting from zero, essentially. And if we're building, a true knowledge meritocracy, it doesn't feel like the right approach to me. So, as a broad kind of approach here, I think we want a system that is open, that anyone can participate in. It looks and feels a little bit like a web of trust, right? Where you can verify other people. And we actually incorporate real world contributions into your reputation, and that can affect, certain types of weighting for different types of votes. So curious people's initial thoughts on that as a starting point. This can just be a totally casual conversation with any initial reactions.
Um, so interesting would be to think about what would be the strategy of the new user joining Geo if, let's say, he wants to or they want to um, like get the reputation points and they think they're reputable and then they want to showcase that. What would be the a path for them? There's like something they should be thinking about, or like there are certain type of action or activities that they should be trying to engage in.
Yeah, I mean, one of the first things you would be doing is maybe trying to get verified by somebody who's already, part of this graph.
That's the first thing.
Verifying socials. Yep. Adam, you want to say more about that?
Hey guys, sorry, I'm on my way back to the office from a meeting, so I'll be able to go to speak easier in about 3 minutes. But yeah, I guess the first step for me of reputation is like how built up your socials are. I think LinkedIn is a good representation for quite a few people of like your professional background, and then other socials um, also give a representation of like your reputation in various communities. Twitter or so. I think that's one strategy to get a bit of first like a baseline of who the person is and like what their experience, um, what their professional and personal experience looks like. Um, yeah, trying to think of other mechanisms for which, because you can't get somebody to upload their CV, and you have to verify that they are who they say they are. Which is an interesting question. Like, how do you verify somebody that somebody has like 15 years of experience in machine learning?
Hmm. Yeah, it's an interesting question.
Also, I feel like these are two different things, right? One is more of like verifying that you're real, right? That's a first thing. The second thing is proving that you have reputation or credibility in the field. So it feels like there's a bit of a difference. And I guess if you're verifying who you are, and then there's also proof that you worked on a project, and if the project has high reputation, that could be that could work, right? Like if on the knowledge graph we have your profile that's verified, and then we have your like from your if you have a project that you worked on, let's say on Geo, it can have a sourcing, LinkedIn, other information like other sources that would prove that's the case. And that's a way to actually start building up the real points that would show your like actual credibility. Okay, you worked on these projects that are established, you build these products, etc.
Hmm.
My
Yeah.
concern is that today social engineering is quite advanced, and if you do only an online verification, it can be quite easy. Fake. You can receive quite easy fake data that looks real.
That's
What are
right.
everyone's thoughts on like verifying? Because I think there's two questions. There's one, verifying that every person is a unique person, which goes against Sybil's, and then there's two, verifying that the person is who they say they are and has the experience, and trying to factor in the person's reputation from however we can. I think for the first one, the easiest answer is we could get everybody to like take a picture of their passport, and then algorithm or it verifies that. I think technology now allows you to like do that kind of verification, like identity verification, in 5 minutes. I don't know how easily it is to falsify, but I think that would be probably a great first step against Sybil's. I wonder how a lot of people though that are particularly part of the crypto community feel about that, because there's probably like a big privacy concern.
We can use zero knowledge for this.
Zero knowledge proofs. Yeah.
There are things like ZK Passport that I think do a really great job. I think they recently got acquired by the Aztec team.
Mm.
So I think that's definitely in the design space. I mean, all of these things, they help to prove maybe that you're a unique individual. And so that's useful input. So there's kind of the Sybil kind of prevention. I don't think you should have to have a passport, let's say, to be able to participate. But I think that's a strong anti-Sybil signal. So you have that part of things, which is trying to figure out, yeah, is somebody Sybil? Um, and then that's separate, right, from the actual. I mean, I guess there's are they who they say they are? That's an interesting thing that you could, if they're using their real name, actually, I think compare against the name on the passport. So that's interesting. So that would actually be able to answer, are they who they say they are? If they're using their real identity. I think we want to support pseudonymous accounts as well as, real names. So I think both of those should be supported. And then, yeah, there's the actual kind of like endorsements, right? And then if somebody has a body of work, I think there are some fields where people are very public with their work, right? If you're in academia, you've probably, published research papers. If you're in an industry, you've given talks, maybe you've been public about work that you've done on a, project. So we've kind of looked at that in the people space of like key contributions and things like that. And then some people are really brilliant and you never would have heard their names, right? They work inside of some company and, they do great work and they're known by the people they've worked with, at those companies. So I think we want to support all of those sorts of use cases. Anyways, let's have this be kind of the initial conversation on this topic. Hopefully it's gotten some juices flowing. It's a really fascinating problem. It's a deep problem. But I wanted to start introducing it so that we could start to talk about this stuff. And we have an initial proposal. Uh, I'll be sharing it. A lot of this stuff we're going to be prototyping. We're going to be testing things out. But as the initial group that's helping us, get the stuff out there, it would be really great to have your involvement, your perspectives, your feedback. So, an initial conversation to introduce the topic. Cool. Thanks, guys, for the great thoughts there. All right, let's take a look at how the last week has gone. Arturis, would love an update on the content side. How are things looking?
Yeah, let's do it. So as always, new content across these spaces. Quick note on the health space. So here we have a list of curated claims about exercise. All are evidence-backed exercise claims with each link to peer-reviewed source, including systemic reviews, meta-analysis, World Health Organization physical activity guidelines, and it covers different categories. So here we have all of the claims, and then we have the resistance claims, aerobic exercise claims, high-intensity interval training. So here is for each claim. There's been quite some work done. Like each claim has its own cover photo, cover image, a description, a source, supporting evidence, a health outcome. And this is for each claim right here. So this is like an interesting first attempt at a good, serious organization of health exercise claims with some system. We will be building more on top of that, but that's like a great first go at it. Most interesting is going to be start seeing maybe the differences between different accepted sources on some of these statements, but this already gives us a good curated list of information there. Then we have the main primary elections happening. So for this, we are organizing the news around it. So as always, campaign finance is an important topic around any campaign. So we have the news stories about the campaign finance, and then the news stories for each side. We have for Republican primary in order, so that's a timeline of how things develop. Same for the Democratic Party right there. And just all in order as well. So this is an example of organizing news stories around any relevant topic. This is something that's scalable across like all of the topics, just having a proper good tabs, and so that we can monitor the situation as things happening. This is an example with the politics specifically. And going into the still somewhat in the similar topic of politics, we have the Lebanon war. So here it's a high-level overview, key figures, and we have some general content like public figures involved, timeline, and summary. For timeline, we have things as they evolve, and also it's organized, right? Like it's the conversation that's happening while fighting, the costs, the issues about how truth is going, and the war on the ground. All of these are in order as a timeline, so we can see how things are developing. But I would say one interesting thing, and this is a theme that we'll show a few times during the highlights, which is content that's created throughout the news stories. So as we are, and this is a general concept for Geo, right? As we're creating content that is relevant for that time, for example, it's a news content that we're creating or anything else, the claims and information is still valid, right? And the way that we're trying to make it is to be composable. So claims are somewhat context independent. That means that you could read it, understand it, even if it's taken out of the news story, for example. And so we can organize them around into like a general overview. So here is these claims are taken from the news stories that we've made throughout the conflict, and now we can sort of start to see some patterns and general categories emerging of what we should be understanding about the conflict. So, for example, right here, ground and offensive territorial control, ceasefire violations, and broken truth. These are like different claims from different stories there. Health alone, drone warfare, diplomacy negotiations, international casualties, incidents, civilian casualties. So if we'll check on the claim, we have the sources for any claim. And usually it's multiple. And for example, here we have the article from BBC, Al Jazeera. So that's a one sort of approach of how we can take the existing content and create new content from it by adding more narrative and understanding. Then in the crypto space, we have the blockchains as a reference map of a notable layer 1 and layer 2 networks tracked in the crypto space. So these we had these chains already there, and it's highlighting just the organization of that. So here we have the chains that are selected by market cap, right? Roughly the top 100, 150 layer 1, layer 2s, plus ecosystem significant networks, even if they don't meet the standard. The point is to showcase the most important chains that are currently on the crypto space and to curate them. By consensus tab reorganizes the same networks by the mechanisms that secures them, and tables are driven by each network as a layer roll-up category relation. So layer 1, layer 2, layer 2 optimistic rollups, layer 2 ZK rollups, sidechains and app chains, all organized. And we have a tab by consensus right here, proof of stake plus BFT, delegated proof of stake, proof of work, other consensus. And we click on any of these, we have some categorization data about it, depending on the chain. But so here we have, for example, active addresses, chain ID, country, docs, Explorer URL, GitHub, and categorization data, when launched, LinkedIn. So a bunch of data is captured about most of them. So that's some work being done on the chain organization. Also, here is a topic, the Zcash pool vulnerability. We had some shakeup in the market here. So here is some organized claims of what went down and how it happened. So how it was found. Here we have the Zcash ORCID vulnerability was discovered using the custom AI auditing framework paired with Anthropic's Claude Opus 4.8, which generated a working exploit in a local reg test environment. Interesting story just from the fact that AI is getting involved in these sort of big situations. Like it's, AI is really going mainstream and is starting to move things around. Discover and disclosure, some facts right here: emergency response and fix, impact and assurance, no exploit of the Zcash worker privacy pool bug occurred. So a bunch of information about that, and market impact as well. Usually we don't spend too much time on the market impact, but this seemed to be relevant. So we capture some data about that as well, like what was the reaction there. And people involved, we can take a look at who are involved, organizations and projects involved. So we can take a closer look there, and just discover with who the culprit of the situation. We have the Cloud Opus 4.8 right here. So some information about that.
This is fantastic. I don't know when the last time we did something like this that, I mean, it's been a few days, but honestly, I don't think we have anywhere really that like captures the historical record of what happened for a live event, like with this type of precision, right? And then something that
each claim sourced, by the way, with you can see sources for every claim that you can see here.
That's amazing. Yeah, we should post this out. I think like honestly that like this is the best example that I've seen of capturing something more or less in real time, putting it in this sort of a format, right? It's more than just the news story, right? It is here's the record of all of the things. People could come in, they could debate any one of these claims, right? There's the claim there that it hasn't been exploited.
Yeah, right here, impact and
You could
assurance.
say we actually don't know whether or not it's been exploited, but that's a claim, and then you have a conversation around it. So this is really fantastic. Could we maybe open this up some Mo? Great job. So I see you did this. Could you share a little bit about your process and yeah, I guess how long did it take and how did you organize all of this?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the compliments. So we already have like news stories on Geo on this event. So I audited what we already have, the claims from those stories, and then checked for other sources that we were not covering yet on Geo, and then added up the links to the articles for those stories so that they could be imported to Geo. And then once we had all of the information we needed, I checked for the people and the organizations, the projects, most of which we were already having on Geo. And then some of the entities that we were missing, we had to create those and then like kind of organized the whole story with the claims and the collections so that the narrative and a logical flow.
And did you do that using the AI assistant or using a local LLM?
So I used both. I used the local AI assistant for importing news stories and creating news stories that were not already existing. But for the organization and the auditing of what we already have, I used the Geo skills, the Geo query and Geo publish with an LLM.
All right. How long would you say that took you in total?
Maybe 2 to 3 hours of work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's not bad. And yeah, I mean, would love to kind of capture your feedback, right, on specific things that worked well or, things in your workflow. But I think like this is really a key flow that would be amazing to document a little bit more. And I mean, maybe we should have a guide for how to do this, and maybe we should, just iterate to make it easier. But if we could streamline things, and this is something that people, I mean, could do in an hour, even 2, 3 hours isn't bad. But but this feels like a core flow that if we just built this muscle and we could knock these out, I mean, incredible.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. We'll put some thought into that.
Cool.
And it's just one of the examples we have that it's something that's built on top of the news stories that we're generating, right? So it's like taking use of their existing pipelines. And really that's like a big part of the knowledge graph is that it is it's new content that we're seeing right here, right? It's something new, it's a topic, even though it's created from existing thesis, and that's like a huge part of what it means to work with a knowledge graph. Okay, so some great work there. And then in the AI space, we have some new data on the new model right here. As always, some facts, capabilities, core capabilities, and most interesting, usually it's the benchmarks. So for all models now, as we're adding them, it's the benchmarks on different things, right? Like so reasoning, mathematics, coding, etc. We can give a couple of minutes for Catalin right after this to show a bit of what he's been working on about the benchmarks. It's like really interesting things he's working on to build on top of this. Like that's the whole thing, like building on top of things that are on the knowledge graph. And he has a great approach there. I'll give him a quick note right after this. And still in the AI space. So here is another cool thing to show here. So executive order, that's the type. We have like a new big executive order from the White House on the AI in promotion. And so as always, we have the claims, they're organized, right? One thing that we used to do, and we are getting back to it, which is actually like a really big thing for validating the claims and being able to better measure their quality and in terms of credibility is not just linking the source, but also showing the quote verbatim from the source directly connected to the claim. So that means that as opposed to just the article supporting the claim, we know exactly which part of the article did that. So this does wonders when doing AI validation. Basically, at this point, as long as you can check at scale that the quotes really are coming from a source, which is not that difficult. It's a script. You just can check if the text is verbatim in the source. So that can be done at scale automatically. At that point, the only question is this: is the quote really supporting the claim? If that's the case, that means that as long as we trust the source, we can trust the claim. So that really adds to sort of ability for us to weigh the credibility of the claim for the year. So that's some good work on that. That's for every claim. It has the quotes and the sources where it's coming from. And for a final quick shout out for a curator who took some work as like Hasnat, who is our curator of the week in the AI space. As Mo last week has shown the AI workflows that he has been working on to help AI manage the space. So he added his own workflow stages, the way that, so this is specifically his workflow stages as he works with AI on our space. And this is interesting for us, like for us to actually take a look at that and like understand how the curators do it. And we can take a look at, how can we maybe enable them more, help them with the flow. But we can see right here, we have these are steps of his workflow. Read and scope the boundary requirements. That's first. Output is list of required entity types, mandatory fields, and constraints. Then map geospace properties and examples. Then we generate entity data using Claude. Even list the Claude models that he uses in his work. Output, draft entity list with required fields populated. Cross-verify data with secondary AI models. So for that, GPT-5, the latest. Corrected and validated entity data. Check GeoAPI for duplicate entities. Very important as working with a shared knowledge graph. And create and submit the entities to Geo. So that's a workflow by Hasnat, one of the AI space curators, and appreciate sharing the workflows. It's really good to see how different curators are leveraging different tools to build out the space. And we're a community, so ability to compare and grow together on setting up better and better setups is really appreciated. So that's a great submission from Hasnat there. Thank you. And that's a wrap on the highlights.
All right, looking great. Great work, everyone. Super solid week. Um, all right, so let's have just some conversation on, the general state of first let's kind of do, the content. And then we can also discuss product stuff. Now, I've gotten a little bit of feedback that there have been some product quality issues. So we are looking at that. And this week, we're going to be doing a big push on quality improvements. So if you have hit any bugs, um, team is working on it. So thanks for any of your bug reports there. First thing I kind of want to look at here is so I've been taking a look at the Explore page. By the way, we cleaned this up. So I think it looks much nicer. You can see kind of the recently claimed and available topics to claim. It's looking pretty nice. And you scroll through and I've started noticing more different types of content coming through. And specifically I've seen things like tweets. I've seen right, of course, the news stories, the episode. So that's super cool. So I'm guessing those came with the import tool. Can anyone share, what type of content they've been adding either with the import tool or, different types of love to hear, how people are thinking about content organization these days.
For the tweets, sorry, it was me that I was importing the tweets. I was using the import tool.
Nice.
Not the import tool. I'm sorry. The import feature of that every space has it that I can put the link of the tweet and it will be generated.
Amazing. So how was that experience? Here's one here. So the U.S. stands firm. So this was 2 days ago. Stands firmly with the legitimate government of Lebanon.
Yes,
The
yes.
U.S. declares support.
Yeah, we have it in I added to World Affairs to use it in the topic Lebanon War, and it was extremely smooth. The topics are added. The topics are amazing, and as you can see, that the tweet is very viral and the trendy one. Like if you see the views, it was 1.3 million, and it is like an official statement by the secretary. So,
Yeah.
like. I added around 13 or 15 tweets, and it took me like 1 hour.
For how many?
13 to 15 tweets.
Okay. It doesn't seem super fast, but it's understandable. So but a lot of that is just waiting for it to do its work. And it's like multiple
Yeah,
rounds of things, I guess the topics and all of these kinds of things.
yeah, exactly,
Got
exactly.
it. Okay.
And if you check Lebanon War, you can see that the tweets are there. You can see them now and how they are organized and everything. This is in World Affairs. If you click on the space and go to Lebanon War, please. Yeah, go down. You will see top tweets. Click on to top tweets, please. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, basically, so we have like the name, which is kind of a I guess like a summary, and
Mm.
then there's
A
more
description.
context in the description, and then the full tweet is in the body.
Yes. Yes.
The name is the first sentence of the tweet. The first complete sentence of the tweet.
Got it. Yeah. I mean, it works pretty well. Well, now I guess you could claim that maybe a better way to show tweets is by showing just like the full tweet intact. I don't know. What do people think? Like that would be a different sort of feature. I kind of like this, but it's an interesting.
We had the version where we were publishing the thumbnail of the tweet as an image in the blog, but it was asked to remove it.
Who asked?
It's like
Someone
yeah,
had to
like
ask.
we with Preston. It was a screen, so we took a screenshot of the tweet
Yeah.
and then posted like an image of it. But probably the right way to go about it would be to have an embedding of
An
that tweet?
embed. Yeah, I mean, Twitter supports tweet embeds. It's an interesting question whether we'd want to. It's really like a UI thing. I guess like if we have the URL, we could just use the official embed.
Mhm.
That would help with keeping the information about the tweet up to date as well. When you take a
Right.
screenshot of the tweet, then we have
Metrics.
some metrics that might be outdated.
Yeah, so I'm curious people's thoughts here. Like, would that be an improvement, or are we happy with this?
We are adding the features, the property to be able to add quoted tweets, to add community notes, to add polls to a tweet whenever they on it.
Yeah, I think we're no matter what, we want to do the extraction. And it seems like we're doing a great job. Maybe we can do more. But okay, that's so it's a bit of an open question I think we should consider. But I think the fact that we're starting to already pull these in is freaking awesome.
Can I
Quick
ask you?
question.
Hmm.
Just real quick question on the ontology here. Right now we use the type tweet, but to quote Yaniv from 2024 autumn, when we had the X platform as a property, the quote was, they deserved it, and just call it X. So should we still have it as a tweet, or should it just be a post, and the platform would be X?
You know, I still like tweet. I think it's still called a tweet, even if it's on X.
Uh, we
Um,
do we do have a like if it's for example if it's a Reddit post or it's a Substack post, or a blog post, it would be a type post. It captures all of those.
yeah,
There is and then we have a property that's sort of a platform, and it would link there.
yeah. I think it can be a tweet and a post.
Okay.
Cool. All right, so this is super cool to see. I have been noticing, so browsing around, that there has just been really great work on the news stories for all different types of things. Um, so how is that feeling for people? Creating these pages. Now, in the past, we've had templates, and I don't know if we're using templates right now. Is it manual and tedious to go through and kind of create the data blocks that's showing kind of the news stories filtered by topic? Would that be better to have as a template, or how's the general experience of, I guess, organizing content?
I could just maybe add like one note there that AI is really getting more and more helpful with this. And it's really good that you can use AI and it kind of creates the tables for you, etc. Maybe the one feature that would be helpful to create these types of tables, for example, on Notion, if you have a database, right, and there is a column that has multiple, like let's say topics or categories, you can just group by that column, and then it creates the tables, and each table is just filtered by one value of that column. That probably would, if we could have that as a one thing, I think it could people could build up their own templates really fast, because usually like these spaces, each user or like curator, they might have their own take of how to organize it, but this way they could do it like anyone can do it like their own way, kind of. It would be kind of a template, but also has some flexibility.
Yeah, so the group by makes sense. Um, how are people working with the news? So I'm seeing just, there's more and more news coverage, which is looking great. How much of that is the automated news publishing, and how much of that is people using the manual kind of import, going through certain topics, finding interesting stories and pasting them in?
Most
It's
for sorry, Atlas. For last
Oh
There
week,
you
no, no,
go, Armando.
Armando, yeah, take. You can take that.
For last week specifically, we the ratio must be like 40, 60. 60 should be 60% of injected news. We reach some kind of momentum. We even had to change the API keys. We overuse it.
No, I mean it's oh, okay. I mean that's great. So we can work on that. But so basically it sounds like that was a good feature to add, huh? And it's
Mhm.
making things better so we can really get like all the relevant content and
It would
it
be
feels like a
cool
good workflow.
if we could maybe a feature we could implement would be like the capacity to directly build timeline. Like right now, if you want to create a timeline, we have to inject 10 stories, so there are 10 injection, more or less 1 minute and a half, 2 minutes by injection, etc. If we could do like one bulk operation to add 10 URL to discover the 10 the source, the extra source for this 10 URL and in big process be able to create a one big timeline, it would be cool maybe.
Right. The timelines are mostly just around the topics, right? Or
The
is it
topic.
still a separate timeline type?
Uh, no. We are using topic as the topic are in fact timelines. We are not you. We some of the entity are still double typed like a backup because we had a small regression last week, but in
Yeah.
the we are using only topics.
I mean, to topic does seem like the sort of thing where if we just had a template, would that be nicer so you don't have to come in and actually like, oh, let's add. Not every topic has like news stories. If it's like some internal thing, right? Maybe it has claims and posts and stuff, but we think that having like a template for something like a topic would help.
I was kind of think, like we are seeing a pattern for at least for the topic we study attached to them. Like where the pattern is story I link to people, which I link also to, we can easily link tweets to the topic, and we can easily like the force will be the project. In other case of entity, we see like the papers being more relevant. For example, sometimes that the stories or the tweets can be the papers, but there are some patterns that can maybe allow to think to a template.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. I mean, so yeah, so far, it's been really great seeing how well all of this content has been curated. Um, and see this one. Where are we at on the images? So I'm seeing a lot of these images are getting better. So have we done a good, have we mostly transitioned off of Nano Banana?
The big change for image will happen tomorrow.
Oh,
We
okay. Exciting.
Like right now, the priority was on fast generation and to make sure we were not producing inaccurate uh, person representation. For example, the wrong senator or the wrong public figures. Russia made a bunch of iteration. He found a system like to check the existence of the public figures, to check on internet and so on, to keep the speed. All the change we receive the last feedback from Nate. I just received the last iteration. It will be ready for tomorrow, but it will be a big change.
Okay, that's exciting. I mean, this image already looks better. Um, this page, so is everyone seeing these polls?
Here we have a small issue if you are looking at
Oh, those
about the
Nate
comments.
comments show up where they shouldn't.
Yeah, but the issue is whenever you reuse an answer, you're also reusing the comment of this answer. So for example, here you have a comment about a repo.
That's what it
This,
is.
this comment was about the SpaceX hippo or Anthropic hippo, if
Right.
I remember right. And now you are on a story about Trump and Netanyahu, and you have a comment about hippo.
I see that. So is this the only issue is the comment?
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen that. I agree. Um, the upvoting has been great. Definitely recommend that people upvote stories, things that they think are interesting. And then if you see these polls in Geo News, Um, that's a great thing to participate in also. So yeah, I would love to see, the upvoting is really fantastic. I don't know if people have spent much time on the Explore page, but it's nice to get a feed um, that we can see here and just to upvote, if there's podcast episodes you think are interesting, if there's anything like that, you can just upvote. Um, are we working on moving the publishing, the podcast stuff to the relevant spaces?
We start with the topic. We are trying to reubicate to do a big cleaning from topics. We had some issue from the podcast app generating too much topic, so we are taking back control of it. We are planning a big set of cleaning and to move the topic in the right space.
Awesome. Yeah, because I'd really love to see these getting published to health, to world affairs, to the relevant kind of spaces.
Here, the podcast also needs to be realigned a bit with the news app, like it's still relying on Postgres. So we have issue if we want to incorporate a new podcast show, a new episode also. It's not easy operation. And it's not an operation easily performed by curator, for example. So we will
Mhm.
need to improve it on something.
We're taking a look at merging the news app with the podcast app, so it would function under the same basis.
And with
Okay.
and the possibility maybe to inject podcast and podcast episode.
Um, yeah, podcast show and podcast episode. Maybe,
Mhm.
makes sense. Cool. So, the content has been looking really great. So let's keep that up. I feel like the news organization stuff goes a really long way. Also very encouraged by seeing the stuff on the US politics space. I think this is something we should be sharing a lot more about soon. Working on getting this on the homepage. I think this will be a great thing to bring there. Um, Super exciting. So um, we're working on a bunch of product stuff that we're looking to release and do a big push, potentially starting as soon as next week. Um, I want to make sure I'm getting, some feedback on geogenesis quality stuff. So we're going to try to do, take care of as much of that as we can in the next week before doing a big push. But just want to let folks know that a big push is coming, and we really hope to have everybody here participating and making some noise, getting people excited. So what we're going to be doing for next week or the week after, we'll keep you posted on timelines, is releasing a game. And it's going to be a very simple game, but a fun game as a way to get people into Geo and to start thinking about voting and participating in community curated knowledge. So we're working on that on our side. We may show you guys a sneak peek and then we're going to be looking to make a big wave. So keep an eye out for details there, and it should be a lot of fun. We need to be doing fun things in Web3, and I know the last few months we've been doing a lot of work, but we're going to start opening this up, and we're going to start making it even more fun. So excited for that. Will be some some fun things to play around with. Um, all right. Are there any questions or things that people would want to discuss about this week's priorities?
One thing I kind of wanted to add to the early discussion, the first topic about reputation,
Yeah.
just, I mean, it's not necessarily like it's pretty obvious, but I think reputation, we talk about credentials and things like that, and they're very important to gain access to some of these spaces, right? You can't really contribute without that knowledge. But my 2 cents would be the bulk of the weight of reputation would be what was produced within the geo space. I think we can use obviously there's some other things that you talks, papers that are published are high value, but I have some credentials, and I feel like in my realm, I've seen over credentialing and kind of credential like leak and folks like leading with their credentials and whatnot. And I think that to avoid things like that and people coming in and being like, I have 4 degrees, right? Like it's you do, but what are you producing? And so a couple months here and you start to see the quality of people's work and their earnestness and their want to contribute, and that's to me so much more powerful than the expertise you come in with and your PhDs and whatnot. So that's my
It's
two
it's
cents.
it's a great perspective, and I am very much of that persuasion as well. Now, the interesting thing is, maybe it depends a little bit on the space, right? So, like software, for example, is kind of maybe famously a space where, you can be some like kid in high school and be some like a cracked coder and go on to build the next Facebook or whatever. And then you have some fields, I guess, health is one of those fields where you tend to really need to be licensed and the credentials tend to matter a lot. But now there's also a lot of enthusiasts that are jumping in, and you have to wonder how many of these enthusiasts that are just spending all day like in corners of the internet learning about the latest health things, are they more up to date than some of the doctors? I don't know. So, you look at something like health specifically, and yeah, what's your general sense for, which types of things maybe more credentials would make sense versus where maybe it should make less sense?
I think in the healthcare space, where we bifurcate maybe the health space between health from a patient standpoint and a holistic standpoint, and we talk about healthcare like anatomy, disease states, and pharma, I think you would need like some requisite credentials to gain access there and start contributing. But to your point, I think Armando mentioned it earlier when I was talking to him. Somebody cured their dog's cancer just like using chat GPT in Australia. They like fed genetic profiles and came up, you know what I mean? Like, so somebody with time and know-how is going to be able to maybe bring an impact in different ways that it's finding that like that line to toe. Because if you block people out that don't have those credentials, that's you talk about Wikipedia, it starts to become like who's got the biggest credentials, right? And who's got the biggest, where did you go to school? And then before you know it, you have an echo chamber. And I think you would want to avoid that too. So you lose some really powerful voices if you're going like didn't go to Harvard or you don't have a pharmacy degree. Like maybe you don't have a pharmacy degree, but man, you're contributing some great stuff here, and it's all factual and it's well sourced, and there's your reputation right there. So we don't know what your degree is yet, but wow, that's some great work you've been doing. So
Mhm.
I think an emphasis there that would make something like this stand out. Because the more people get involved and like get their hands on stuff and want to control stuff, it might work great for 10 years, and then the 11th year it starts to get a little weird and people get a little possessive, and so um, yeah, experiencing people's work, I think in my experience has been more powerful than where they went to school. So
Yeah. I think you're speaking directly to our ethos, and there's just a lot of complexity and things for us to unpack there. But I think it's great for us to start thinking about this as a community, right? So we can really, think through these things and roll them out, at the protocol level, at the product level. So it's a great starting point for that conversation, and very much agree with everything you said there. So awesome. Great work, everyone. I love seeing the content updates every week. It's my favorite part of the week. Thanks so much for all the great work throughout the week. Thanks for joining us today. It's great having you here every week, and have a great week, everyone.
thanks
Thanks,
everybody.
y'all.